Phil and I were a huge part of that, just because we both played, guitar in Weston, and we like that little quirky pop thing going on. I guess that's what you're gonna call it.
Welcome, everyone, to This Was the Scene, the podcast that takes a look back at the late 90s, early 2000 punk scene. I am your host, Mike Doyle. Digger formed in the Lehigh Valley in the mid-1990s and signed to Hopeless Records in 96. Upon the event of Digger's live recording being played on WMUH, the word of the band spread quickly, which led to the band signing to Hopeless Records. They released their first LP, Power Bait, and then toured a shit ton. This was followed by releasing 4 more albums over the years until they broke up in 2004. Thank you, Wikipedia, for that write-up that I kind of changed a little bit. Original members Matt and Chris reformed the band in 2015 and have been playing shows sporadically throughout the years, including the reunion shows with Weston last month. If anyone's listening right now and it's 2019, you missed the show because it was in October 2018. Power Bait was a staple in my CD collection in the late 90s because of songs like I Want My Hat Back and Dale. My old band played a bunch of shows with these dudes in and out of Jersey through 98, 99, and 2000, I think 2000. And it was always cool running into these guys on the road or just getting on a show with them in New Jersey or in Pennsylvania in their home state and playing because they're just cool dudes. And I remember seeing Matt, their bass player, play with them, obviously, at a show in Skaters World in Wayne, New Jersey, back in 96, 97, I think it was 97. And he just went off on stage and was running around in circles, and it was cool to watch because he just didn't give a fuck. It was giving me the okay that I could do that, and I can get up on stage and just be, just go off and have fun with it. And so guys like him and John from Bigwig really helped me as as a bass player being on stage, just kind of create a stage presence. So that was a little fun fact for you. But anyway, so Matt, if you're listening, thank you. I'd also like to point out that their song Freak Out is one of the fucking best Digger songs of all time. It's one of my favorite songs of all time, which we'll talk about in this episode. And you can find that on the split 7-inch with Weston somewhere out there in the world, or you can just go on Spotify and just literally search Freak Out Digger and it will come up. I highly recommend you do that and add it to your Spotify playlist because the song's fucking awesome. I reached out to founding member Chris Benner to see if he'd like to reminisce on the podcast, and he said yes, and this is what we talked about. Playing in Weston, skate parks, and social media, this episode coming out after the Digger Weston shows, what the scene was like in Lehigh Valley, getting signed to Hopeless Records, Matt's police shirt, how playing shows nowadays is a pain in the ass, dating while being in a band, what it was like to play the Fest in Gainesville, getting stoned and listening to Third Eye Blind, and a ton more. Now, before we begin, this week's episode is sponsored by my book. That has nothing to do with punk rock, but I'm going to promote it because I make a living off of doing shit myself. I work for myself, and things like this help me afford to just fucking live and, record episodes for the podcast. The book is called I'll Eventually Like Kids When They're Older, and it's a compilation of daily comics I've been drawing and uploading to Instagram for over a year. I have random thoughts, and I write them down, and then I end up drawing them and drawing a little picture that kind of tells what I'm talking about. So if you want to check it out, you could just go to Instagram. If you want to check out the comic, just go to Instagram and look up Your Daily Bread. That's BRED, not BREAD. And if you want the book, it's a great gift for the holidays as a coffee table book or a bathroom book. You could buy it for yourself, you could buy it for your friends, and that is all I have to say. You can find the book on yourdailybread.com. You could also find a link to it from my Instagram account, or you can find a link to it from thiswasthescene.com. And yeah. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can donate as little as $1 a month through Patreon by going to thiswasthescene.com and clicking on the button at the top of the page that says click here for bonus material. As a patron, you get access to bonus material that regular podcast subscribers don't. This is just outtakes from episodes. You get early access to see who's coming up the next week through teaser videos. I'd like to start doing Q&As and really getting the group more involved. So if you are a patron, let me know more of the things that you'd like to see. And if you are not a Patreon or a patron, then go support me. And if you'd like to do a one-time donation, you can click on the donate button at the top of thiswasthescene.com, or if you don't want to donate anything, that's totally fine. Make sure you go check out the Instagram account as well. The handle is This Was The Scene. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on YouTube by just looking up This Was The Scene podcast. I post different things in different places, and that's about it. Feel free to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with anyone who would love some old school punk rock nostalgia. With that said, let's get started. So I got Chris here from Digger, and Digger was a band that me and a bunch of my friends listened to when we got Power Bait, and we listened to the fuck out of that thing. And I think a lot of people in Jersey are just now, as this podcast has branched out, I'm going outside of New Jersey, and I'm still going to dive back into, interviewing local Jersey bands and things like that, but I wanted to really expand on this, and I thought Digger would be great, and so Chris is here. And so to go kind of back in time to somewhat of the beginning for you, Chris, I always start off with what actually got you involved with loving music?
Well, my dad always played guitar. I remember him when I was a little kid playing guitar in my kitchen. But I didn't get into music till Olivia Newton-John and Metallica came out. Those were my first two cassettes, I think. What a combination to get.
Yeah.
But if I remember buying them at Kmart. I don't even know if Kmart exists anymore.
In North Carolina, I've seen a few.
Is there a couple Kmart's hanging on? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. After that, I just, I got real into skateboarding, and along with skateboarding came Minor Threat and punk rock and straight edge and all that stuff. So I just kind of not downwards, but just kind of progressed, basically,
Yeah. Was there something in when you first? What was the first song you heard, or I don't know if you can remember this, but where you were it hit you internally, oh man, I love this. I really want to do this.
Man, I was asked these questions or similar questions, what was my favorite show on a podcast I did once before, and I totally went blank.
Yeah.
And I have had several favorite shows, but not one in particular. That moment in time, maybe even back when I was a kid, man, I used to love Michael Jackson's Thriller album.
Oh yeah.
And I always loved music, so
was there a point when you were younger where you were kind of I really want to play in bands. I want to be in a band.
Oh yeah, that definitely started happening in high school. I don't remember the exact point,
yeah.
But me and a bunch of my friends, we all had guitars, and Joel of one of the songs off of Power Bait he actually showed me how to play guitar, and him and I we would start bands and do cover songs in our room, and we had a 4-track recorder and stuff like that, and it just progressed from there, basically. I mean, I didn't really, when that started, I had no grasp on how to put out albums or go on tour. I just wanted to play a show at Scarlett O'Hara's. I don't know did you guys ever play that place here in Bethlehem?
I don't.
Or hear about that place? It's legendary, around here at least.
We might have. It sounds, I could totally be saying this wrong, but I think we played a show there one time where Scotty from Lifetime, he had started a new band after Lifetime, and I could swear we played a show there with Weston in them, and there was when you walked in, the merch was on the left, and the far right was the stage. Is that the place?
I don't know. I can't really. This place was kind of in a basement,
Oh, okay. This wasn't it though.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, those would be the bands that you would play with around here, Lifetime and Weston for sure.
Yeah. And so when you were in high school, did you? What was the first band you put together?
I don't really remember my first band's name. I probably have demo tapes of it, but I don't remember. Weston was my first real serious band. I was actually in 10th grade or 11th grade when I joined Weston.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It was you. Yeah. It was you, James, Dave, or was Dave not in the band? Then Chuck was in the band.
James actually joined after I left. It was me, Jeremiah, Dave Weston, and Chuck Salter.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
And
there was also other members in and out, Mark Hale, and there was we had a guitarist named Ryan too that played for a while, but that was on the first record. There were 4 of us, and then I decided I wanted to go to college because I was still in high school, being in Weston. I had no idea what either held for me,
Yeah.
and that's when James, or I call him Jimmy. Jimmy joined the band
Yeah.
after.
Yeah, I used to call him Jim back in the day, and then James was kind of a newer
I
thing.
know. His name has progressed. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I know. Fucking Beach Slang comes out. He's like, I'm James. I'm like, you're Jim from Weston. Know your name. So when you were skating though back in the day, did you get all those skate comps and shit that would have like
Yeah,
Pennywise on it? No
I
effects.
used to get Thrasher magazine,
Okay.
and I used to send away for like the skate rock cassettes with like Steve Caballero's band was on there, and I think it was the Faction.
Okay.
I mean, like all that old school music. That's what really, we blare that stuff and skate for hours.
Yeah. It'd just be like blasting that shit on your way to go skate some parking lot somewhere, and then you get out
skate
and
a curb.
yeah, they get kicked out of school parking lots. Yeah,
We had
yeah.
cops chase us and everything back then, and nowadays they have parks everywhere for kids to skate. And like I always regretted that, like that and social media. I wish that like back in the day we had skate parks and social media, because everything I do now would be so much better.
Yeah. Oh my God, I always think about. There's been a couple interviews where I've talked to people about what it would have been like to have social media when we were bands.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
totally. And we used to get into town early and go like promote at the local record store and see if we could get a couple kids to go.
oh
You know
wow,
what I mean? Yeah, we did anything we could. Like we'd put out paper flyers, like we'd send the promoter or the club posters. I don't even know if they do that anymore. Everything's done digitally. It's crazy. Like,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so you're going, yeah, because you guys are promoting the Weston show you guys are doing in. I think this episode potentially might come out after that show actually, which kind of blows. Or
yeah, what can you do about
I don't
it?
know, but yeah, you guys are digitally promoting the hell out of the show. It's not that you just show up. It's like you kind of are like, well, where would we go and put a flyer up?
Yeah, that's the other thing. And like you had to find it in the phone book and stuff. Look up record stores in the yellow pages, and like sometimes you had been to a city already, so like just know where to go, like
Yeah,
cool restaurants, or like kind of like punk alternative kind of places. So, but yeah, bands today have a lot easier, I think. I mean, not that
yeah.
it's not. I don't mean that in any negative way. I think it's great. I just think that it would have been very helpful tool to have as a band in the 90s,
Yeah, no shit. Especially cell
right?
phones. With the cell phones, you have the fucking like the God, calling cards and crap, and sitting in a
Find a payphone.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
man, it's so crazy.
and you guys grew up in Lehigh Valley, right?
Yes.
Okay, so when you joined when you joined Weston, and you quit Weston to go to college.
Yeah, I went to school, and then maybe a year or 6 months later, I came home and I went to community college, and then I started Digger. I had reached out to my friend Joel, who I'd mentioned earlier,
Hmm.
and he was playing with Mike and Matt, and Phil actually was on tour with Weston at the time. I guess Jimmy couldn't do a tour, and Phil filled in. So Joel and Phil and Matt and Mike kind of had a band already,
Okay.
but while Phil was gone, I started a band with them, and it wasn't called Digger at that point. It was just a band. And then when Phil came home, we all started playing together. So that's kind of how it worked out. And
What?
that's how Digger started. 1995, I think.
Oh wow.
1995.
What was the scene like in Lehigh Valley?
It was really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot. I mean, there was a lot of local bands, and there was a lot more places to play. I feel like there's still some clubs and venues here, but it's not. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not in touch with it as much. Basically, I just don't see the underground scene as big as it used to be.
Yeah. What was like the main venues? Did you guys play a lot of clubs, or did you guys do a lot of Legion halls and like firehouses and things like that?
It was more stuff like that, like fire halls, and there were some clubs, but a lot of fire halls and Legion halls, and anywhere that would have us play.
Yeah.
Until it got ruined. I mean, if we did the same thing in New Jersey all the time too, and like after you play there a couple times, the the kids ruin it.
Yeah, there was. I think towards the end, people started to kind of figure out that they should stop stealing shit from there. People would kind of give them shit for that, but we lost a lot of hauls in the around like 96, 97. There were some really great ones, and then they just vanished because someone did something fucking stupid.
Always like break something or whatever.
Yeah.
What can you do?
What was when you started going to shows, were you playing in bands and that was what introduced you to the scene, or were you going to shows first and then you started bands?
I think I started going to shows first, like
Yeah.
in high school. Yeah, there was a place here called Airport Music Hall. I don't know if you ever remember that place, but it was in Allentown, and like I would go see bands like Sick of It All and Biohazard. I was real into hardcore, real like metal and hardcore and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and those bands would play here all the time. Murphy's Law would come down. Like, the shows were crazy though, because there was a really good positive scene, and then we had a lot of like skinheads and crap like that in the scene too. So it was kind of weird, but it was kind of really cool at the same time.
Yeah. So when did Digger like officially form?
1995.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how soon after that did you guys get signed to Hopeless?
We got signed relatively quick. I would say within a year. We got together, we wrote some songs, and played some shows. And we did one live show in New Jersey at WFMHU.
Okay.
And we sent that recording out. We sent it to a couple labels. I think we sent it to Harmless Records out of Chicago, Hopeless Records in California, and maybe we sent it to like Mutant Pop. Do you remember that label?
Mutant Pop. It sounds familiar.
They were like a West Coast label. I forget who else we may have sent it to, but somehow that recording got out to a couple different labels, and Harmless and Hopeless both wanted to sign us, and we decided to sign with Hopeless.
Who else was on Hopeless at that time?
Funeral Oration, Falling Sickness, The Nobodies.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, like Mustard Plug joined, and the Weaker Thins, and their label progressed like crazy. I mean, they signed like crazy bands after that. So
yeah, they they had a huge band take off from there. It was All Time Low or something like that.
Yeah, All Time Low. Avenged Sevenfold, I think, was on there for a little bit. Like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like all these record labels back in the day that they were super punk rock, local bands or things, and then they would just get this one giant fucking band that just launched them, like Fuel by Ramen. They had Fall Out Boy, I believe.
Yep.
And then they had Paramore.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, and anything they did after that, they touched was gold.
I know. It's weird seeing that Fuel by Ramen is the label for Paramore. I mean, Paramore started off. I don't want to get into the whole tangent on them, but
yeah,
I mean,
it's okay.
It's just funny to me that I mean, those like Fall Out Boy and Paramore, they started off as in the punk scene and then they blew up. But then All Time Low, I feel like they just started off just this big bang, and I was like, wow, that's what Hopeless Records has that? It's fucking crazy. I'm like, how are they supporting that?
I don't know. I still talk to the guys at Hopeless, and we're actually we're planning on doing a reunion show in Los Angeles. It's the 25th anniversary of Hopeless Records, and we're gonna play, and a bunch of the other like older Hopeless bands are gonna come out and play. I'm just not sure if it's gonna be like Dillinger 4 and Weaker Thins, or if I don't know all the bands yet. So, but that's gonna be in January, I think. So they're doing great. I mean, I don't know how they support all these bands, like the huge bands that I don't get into their business. So it is what it is. I'm happy to see that the label did great.
What was it like when you got on the label? Like, I mean, so in a year's time you guys got on Hopeless. So, let's kind of go back a little bit when you guys started writing songs, and because you guys definitely had your own style. It was pop punk, but it was quirky and kind of like
we kind of mixed like the Fat Record. We mixed Fat Record style in with pop punk. Like we liked that really fast drum beat stuff, and like we liked high energy pop music. It was just, and Phil and I were a huge part of that, just because we both played guitar in Weston, and we like that little quirky pop thing going on. I guess if that's what you're gonna call it.
Yeah, it was like kind of tongue in cheek though. I mean, some of the songs on Power Bait were just very like there was just a kind of like a what's the word? It just stood out to me. It was just fun. It just, I don't know, the styles were just different.
Thank you. Well, it's still fun. I can tell you that.
Like I Want My Hat Back and Boy Toy Days and Dale. I fucking love that song. Like,
Thank you.
yeah, like those. I mean, on the majority of the album, like who's because you're doing the singing, and was Phil the other voice or was Matt singing?
It was mainly me and Phil, and then
Okay.
Matt sang on like a couple songs on like 7 inches and stuff. But now Matt and I handle all the vocals.
Yeah, because I remember first seeing you guys play. We played a show. I think it was either I went to the show or played a show with you guys. It was Skaters World in Wayne, New Jersey,
Hmm.
and you guys showed up, and that's when like Matt always wore that police shirt.
It's funny you remember that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I have this weird I remember these really weird details, but you guys got up there and played. And this was after Phil had passed away,
Hmm.
and you guys were playing. And yeah, I just remember he got up there. It wasn't a police shirt. It was a black shirt that said police across it.
Yeah,
And
he wore that for I don't know how many
for
shows.
fucking years, man. Every time we showed up and played with you guys, like he's playing that fucking police shirt
You
again.
guys were probably like placing bets on the van. The way is Matt gonna have the police shirt on?
Yeah, dude. I mean, we played a show with you guys in Athens, Georgia one time, and you guys showed up, and you guys were a three-piece at that time. It was you, Mike, and Matt, and he had that shirt on. I was like, this is like his uniform.
Yeah, he had that one, and he also had like it was a 76ers Iverson jersey, or I don't know if it was an Iverson jersey, but it was definitely a 76ers like tank top. That was his thing, man. I, I switched it up every night, whatever clean shirt I had, I would wear.
Yeah, I remember because you guys got him played, and he just was like running around in a circle during the set, and I'm like, man, these
Hmm.
guys are. I just remember just watching bands back then, and just because I always wanted. I got into singing because I was in a band and I wanted to be in a band, and I always would take notes from stage presence from different bands of just how I felt like they just wouldn't give a shit. Like they would give a shit, but they just let loose, and that to me stood out. I was like, man, these guys just like fucking. It's like they're owning the stage. It's like that. This little bubble is just theirs for the next 30 minutes or 40 minutes.
Yeah, I always try to do that because like if it's 5 people or 500 people, like they're there to see you play. So you know, it's tough to give your 100% every night, especially if you're on tour for like 3 4 months at a shot. But that's what people come to see you do is like be in that little bubble and watch you have fun, play your songs.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of a it's like what's the word? Fuck, not addictive. I can't think of it. Goddamn, no, I'll just edit that out.
I know what you're talking about though, like watching like people play and then like I call it their moves or whatever, whatever your
Yeah,
stage moves or whatever. I was I would pay attention to some people, some people have really cool style, but I went to see Guns N' Roses like I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, a year ago when they reunited.
yeah,
Slash is awesome.
yeah.
That's all I have to say. You know what I mean? That dude at stage presence is insane. You know?
He is just fucking rock and roll. That dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he just like know. I mean, I don't even think that guy can even have an ego. He's like, no, I'm just Slash. I just show up and
Yep.
fuck up and
Pretty much.
I smoke
Yeah, it
cigarettes
was
and I rock.
awesome. It was probably one of the best concerts I've ever been to. And I'd
Yeah.
say that like within my top 5 ever.
Was there any shows back then when you guys started off that you went to see that just blew your mind?
I remember going to see Guar,
Oh my
and
God.
if you've never seen Guar before, they're insane. They threw the Lunatics in a meat grinder on stage, and fake blood went everywhere. And, like, I just remember coming home. I had a white T-shirt on. My mom asking what the hell had happened to me because I was filled with blood.
And so, did you purposely go there the white shirt because you knew they were just gonna just spray you guys with shit?
I may have, but it was also like one of my favorite shirts at the time. It was like a Marlboro menthol shirt. I don't know. Man, you wear stupid shit when you're in high school, so who knows?
Oh, that's fucking amazing. So
Yeah, that's
when you started to like when you guys started it, what was your goal? Like, did you guys ever sit down and say like we really want to make this like our lifestyle, or did you guys just like we just want to get together and play, and then you just happened to get on Hopeless?
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. I mean, I know that's like the ultimate goal when start a band. That's why you start a band. But um, it wasn't like we sat down and like had a business plan and then created music around it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like we had a business plan after we were signed. We just played music, and that was, you know, I think that, like what you said, that's how it worked out. It was just fun for us. Watching us play was fun. Still fun.
Yeah. I mean, definitely I think like that at that age though, it becomes a reality of, oh man, I can either this could be my career for now, at least. It's because that's around the time where your parents are, you got to think of your future, you got to go to college, you got to get a degree and shit. And a lot of us were in bands going, well, we don't really want to go in that direction. We want to do this, and this
Yeah,
could
we
actually
could
be.
either do that or we could put out another album and stay on the road for like 9 months out of the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so given the option, I'd much rather do like what I did. I
Yeah.
got to see, like, I got to travel the world, and then I got to see like make friends all over the states. So it was a really good experience. I didn't like have some master plan though when I started a band.
Yeah.
I think if I start a new band though, I will definitely have a master plan and a goal.
Yeah. Yeah. When you guys were you going to college the whole time? You guys were you like did you quit college or did you
I did. Well, eventually I did. I think when the band first started, Mike and I were both in the same college, so we kind of finished out a semester or like went an extra semester until like we decided until we got signed and we realized we're going to California and we can't be in school. So it was that Phil actually did Phil stayed in school after we got signed. I think he went to college or did like a couple months classes like in between tours and stuff like that.
okay.
And Matt quit college too. Quit college, go on tour.
Yeah. Were you guys playing a lot of shows with Weston then? Because I always remembered that it seemed kind of like your both your names were tied to each other. It's like if one heard of one band, they would have heard of the other because of some kind of write up or even the 7-inch you guys put out together. Actually, no, the 7-inch you guys put out after Got Beat Up. That split.
Yeah, yeah. It was after we got signed, and Hopeless actually put that 7-inch out. I don't. We were like brother bands. Like I was in the band, so it was like I knew everybody, and just the scene in this area was like Weston and Digger, and there was like Grieving Eucalyptus, and there was the Overdrives. Do you remember playing with
Yeah.
the Overdrives? Yeah.
Yep.
And you know what? Like, I know this is going off a tangent a little bit,
Go
but
for
like
it.
my buddy Evan was in the Overdrives, and now he's in Wisdom in Chains.
Okay.
And that band is doing amazing, and it's so happy to see my friends' bands doing well now. Like that really, really pleases me.
Yeah.
Like yeah, like Jimmy, for example. Like
A beach slang.
I'm so proud of the guy. Like he's like kicked ass to get to the point where he's at, and that's what you got to do. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. I mean, with Jim, it's funny because he joins Weston. They do Got Beat Up, and that was the album where my friends started to sort of pay attention to them. We saw them play a show. I think it was we saw them play with like they opened for Face to Face when Face to Face put out what the fuck was it? I think Face to Face had put out the self-titled album, and then they opened up, and it was the first time we saw them, and then that's what kind of opened up our eyes again, more so to the whole Pennsylvania scene. And I'm not going to talk about Jim the whole time, but it was just crazy seeing that. And then Weston really progressed in this whole different sound. And then he did Cordova after
yeah,
that broke up. And then that was pretty much it. And then he did Beach Slang after that, right?
yeah. Oh, there was like what's it? Well, after I played in Cordova for a little bit, I did a couple shows with them, and then I forget what they did after that. But yeah,
Did you guys go on tour together? Like
no,
with you and Weston?
no, we never did. Well, like maybe 2 years ago, we did a weekend, but we never did like a full blown tour. And then we have these 4 shows coming up in October. We're doing.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun. And we got a New Jersey date. How about that?
Yeah, there was a TBD in the flyer, and there's a Facebook group that I'm a part of. It's North Jersey Pop Punk. It's like 1997 and 2002 Facebook group, and that's pretty much how this podcast started. It was just we started in 90 or in 2009, and people would sporadically just, oh, here's a flyer, here's a patch, and then all of a sudden it started ramping up. This guy Joe Polito archived all these New Jersey bands, and he put them on a website, and it kind of lit this fire. And then one day I asked a question. I was like, would anybody want to hear about the scene? And it just like exploded. So there's all these people in this Facebook group always talking about the scene back then. And the other day I took the flyer that you had and I posted it in the group, and I was like, and I think it was after I found out that you guys were playing in Jersey. I'm like, well, everyone got their wish. Everyone was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, I was stoked. I pushed for Joe to get that show, and I pushed for a show either Pennsylvania or New Jersey for sure. So I'm glad it all worked out. So
Where did you guys record Power Bait?
we recorded in Los Angeles. Geez, I can't remember the name of the studio, but Donald Cameron was our producer. I think it was like a West Beach Studios. It was like on Sunset or something like that. It was like, I don't know. It was crazy. Like, we were in studios, and this is no lie, that Bone Thugs and Harmony were in. Like, and like we had like their groupies singing parts, like backup parts on our record.
Seriously?
Yeah, but like when you're new to LA, like you have no idea. I had no idea. I was so green. Like, I didn't know that we were in this like crazy studios with like this famous people. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like kind of worried like that my guitar was sounding out right, or like, you know what I mean? Like, so
That's fucking awesome. But when you guys put out Power Bait, did you guys? So you went to LA, you recorded with Bone Thugs,
yeah.
and then you came back, and was there kind of an increase of kids coming to shows after they heard you? Because Hopeless was a well-known label, like, name back then.
Yeah, that definitely helped.
Yeah.
That helped. I think there was a real like increase after we came back from California, because like it gave something for people to talk about, and a lot of we had there's 4 people in the band, and we had multiple friends, and just word of mouth. That's basically how music spread back in the day. Make a mixtape or something like that, or like just tell people about bands. Let me ask you a question. What's the last record or CD you bought, man?
What was the last what?
What's the last music you bought?
So this is funny. There's a record store in Raleigh. There's a couple of them that are just vinyl shops. And about a month ago, I went into one of them, and I had this book I put out, and I was like putting them all around town for like kind of a scavenger hunt. And I'm sitting there, and they have beer on tap at the fucking record store. And I was like, I just bought a turntable at the same time, so I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna start buying fucking vinyl again. And I went to the store, and I didn't see any records that I wanted while I was there, but I walked around, and they had Nirvana's Nevermind used, and it was a CD, and I'm like, I bought that, and then I bought Pearl Jam's Versus, which is
Nice.
It's funny that you asked that, because I haven't bought a physical CD. The last one I had bought was in like 2012. It was Balance and Composure's things shit. Have you heard of them, Balance and Composure?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't. Never.
They are incredible. They're from Pennsylvania. They're from Doylestown.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have this record called "The Things We Think We're Missing." It's fantastic. But yeah, I hadn't bought music forever because I have Spotify.
Well, yeah, that's just it. Like, I kind of like stopped buying music. It was weird. It's been a weird thing. Like, I would always buy CDs or vinyl, and then like the last thing I ordered a CD off of eBay last week. I got I'm real into rap music. I bought Gangstar's Mass Appeal, and that's like one of like classic hip hop records. So, and I hadn't had that CD forever, probably since I lost it on tour somewhere in the van. So I was like, I'm gonna buy that again. That's what I bought.
And that's the thing, is like you buy records again.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, but there is something too. There was something about going in this record store and sitting there, and I'm like drinking a beer, talking to the person behind the counter, and she's like 22, but she knows music. and we're just going back and forth on music. And then you can now get up and I'll walk around, and I'm like, oh my god, the used section. I'll just grab. I dropped like $50 in this place,
It's
and
easy.
it's crazy, man. It's crazy because there's a different feeling from actually holding music again.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It is still like that. I just don't buy music like that anymore, and that I think if I did, like, that would make it more. I'd be way more into it.
Yeah. It's like an experience, dude. I mean, this weekend I went back and I bought Dookie. That was used. It was like $4.99. I got Pearl Jam's 10 because I was a huge Pearl Jam fan, and something else I bought. I think I bought like Depeche Mode's Violator or something. These are all like $4.99, and I'm just driving around in my Jeep like just cranking fucking Violator.
That
Fucking
was too
awesome.
funny.
Oh, it's great, man. I mean, I don't know, it's like the whole point of just talking about like back in the day, because a lot of people, some people like have a real hard time remembering stuff, but it's when something triggers a memory in there. It's like you're almost back there again.
I know you had me today, like thinking before you called, and I was just trying to like think about some like crazy New Jersey shows or stories I could tell you and stuff. And I mean, one of my favorites I think was there was a skate park in, was it Asbury Park maybe? Was it
There's Asbury Lanes. Is this?
was was that it? Was the skate park inside there though?
No, there's a skate park, like a real skate park, or just a roller rink.
I think it was like a huge skate ramp. I know it was definitely New Jersey. The show was like 10-foot pole, and I think it was actually on the New Jersey Archives punk page. The flyer went up for it.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I forget who else played, but I remember playing in New Jersey. Always we'd have some shows with like Midtown
Yep.
and your buddies Humble Beginnings and you guys and Bigwig. We definitely played with Bigwig a bunch back in the day. I have not seen Tom for years, and I miss him. I honestly I've text with him and stuff, and we're like, hey, we got to do a show. We got to do a show, and like we had a show booked, and the band played, but I couldn't. It was the first Digger show in Digger history I missed.
Oh shit.
I had surgery on my hip, so but the guys kept the show and they played with Bigwig, and but it was crazy because like in all of the hundreds or thousands of shows we've ever played, that's the first one I missed.
That fucking blows.
So my streak's over, man.
I don't know like if you guys are just doing a couple shows and then stopping or what, but
We're always open, and we don't want to like kill it. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
we want to play when people want to ask us to play. You know what I mean? Like, and if it's we don't want to like overplay it though either. So
Yeah. You gotta find a balance where I think someone said to us like, "Oh, would you guys want to come and would you guys play again in a couple months?" I'm like, I think that it just wouldn't be as strong for us because we never had like 1,000 people show up to a show ever, but we had 300 people come to this show we played back in July, and it was so epic that I just wouldn't want to try to make that happen. Like get like
it's almost just like leave it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, not that you have to leave it, but like what I'm saying is that like I just don't want to overplay. We're not putting out a new record. We don't have any plans to do that. Like, so it's like for me personally, when we do play, it's like this blast of old songs or nostalgia that we have, and I want everybody to enjoy it. Like, if I was playing these old songs, I would get bored. If I was playing them like 3-4 months in a row, I'd have to write something new.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's weird though because now's a time where people want to hear the old stuff.
Yeah, it's really crazy that, like, in my mind, that people still want to see Digger play or hear Digger, or, it's humbling in a way because we weren't some huge band either, like you guys. We have a couple hundred people show up, and that would be an awesome show.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just like pure fun nowadays. It's like there's no pressure. I mean, we all have jobs, we all have kids and marriages and stuff. So even to get together more than 5 shows a year is a lot.
Yeah, dude. No, it really is. It's such a pain in the ass.
That's what happens when you get old, man.
Yeah. And you guys, I mean, so right on something. So you guys put out Power Bait, started touring, and what is "I Want My Hat Back"? Is that a real story? Is like, what's that song about?
Yeah, it's a real story. Phil and I wrote that together, and I don't. I think he wrote the verses about a girl, and I just kind of wrote the chorus. I want my hat back part, kind of about his relationship.
Hmm.
I don't remember exactly. I mean, I do know that we wrote it together. I just don't. It's based on a true story. I mean, everybody's had like a girlfriend where you left something at their house, and you're like, you don't want to ask for it. You don't even want to contact them sometimes.
Yeah.
Depends what it is, though. It really depends on what you left there, how important it is to you. So,
Yeah, that song actually was pretty true to me. I was living in LA in 2002, and there was like in this apartment complex, there was this girl who was a neighbor, and like we went to her place, we like hooked up, and I left, but I had an Innis hoodie, like it's the guys from I think Flogging Molly's
okay.
skateboard company, Innis, and I left it there, and I was like, fuck. So it was like I was thinking it was reminiscent of the song. I'm like, God, this is exactly. I should have just been playing that when I walked over to her place.
Exactly what
But
it's about.
yeah, she ended up like I couldn't find. I went over. I was like, hey, just pick up my sweatshirt, and it was gone. And I'm like, you fucking threw it away, you asshole. Oh man. Yeah. So when you guys started, how long? Like, did you start touring right away when Power Bay came out?
Pretty much, yeah. We started touring before Power Bait even came out. Because we were out in LA and we had to tour back. Our first tour was with the band called the Nobodies,
Yep.
and um, they took us on tour for 2 months until we came back here to Lehigh Valley. And then after I think we had maybe a couple months off, and then it was like we hit the road hard after that. Like after Power Bait came out, we just toured.
Yeah. What did you guys notice? Was there any certain cities around the country that you loved going to?
I loved going to Chicago.
Yeah.
We always had really, really great shows at the Fireside Bowl. Did you guys ever get to play there?
Yeah, we played there a couple of times. It was always
Awesome.
there's always like 300 kids there, or something stupid.
Always. Yeah, it was amazing. And how many awesome bands that we played with there too. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved Chicago, and really liked playing in Denver. We had good fans out in Denver, and Virgil from Suburban Home Records had put out a 7-inch for us, so we had good friends out there. The Nobodies were from Colorado. I'm trying to think. I really like Texas too. I have good friends in Texas, and we played Austin South by Southwest so many times that
nice.
It was just, yeah, that's a great city. I really, really want to go back.
Have you been there? When's the last time you were there?
I want to say maybe 15 years ago.
Oh man.
It's probably way different now, I know, just from what my friends tell me, but I'd really, really want to go back.
Yeah, I lived down there for about a month a couple of years ago. I was traveling, and I was Airbnb every week. I'd go to a new place. It was all in South Austin, which was south of almost by. They have this main road in South Austin called Slaughter, which always freaked me out. I was like, what the fuck am I? But yeah, dude, that town, it's packed. It's so fucking packed, but it's still badass.
Yeah, a lot of good musicians, a lot of good people, great food.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always liked going. I mean, there wasn't really like a city. There would be new cities where I'd be like, "Where am I?" You know, or like maybe like, and this isn't a bash on Omaha, Nebraska, but there really wasn't much to do there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm just saying, like, it wasn't really a place I didn't want to go, but definitely Chicago and Denver were two of my faves.
Yeah. Did you have any stories from like early tours that ever happened where they still just, stand out in your memory?
I don't know. Maybe we'll keep talking and I'll think of something. Not like right off the top of my head, but
It's always a weird, like anytime I ask that, I'm thinking, I mean, I remember when we'd be on the road and there was never like any real crazy shit because you'd show up there at whatever time during the day, you'd dick around, then you'd go and play the show, and you'd ask people if you could stay in their floor or something.
it's their house. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just go and just get like 30 packs of beer and drink, and then wake up at 8 a.m. and drive 5 or 10 hours to the next gig.
that was pretty much the gig. I mean, unless like you have to play the show, get back in the van, and drive 10 or 12 hours to the next gig. I mean, there was plenty of nights like that too. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything though. It was like best time of my life. You know what I mean? Like,
Fuck yeah.
and you're asking for like a crazy story. I mean, dude, every night was a crazy story. I mean, didn't there was nights I woke up and we would drive all night, and like I'd look over and our roadie would be looking at porno magazines while he's driving the van. I'm like, dude, aren't you supposed to be driving? You know what I mean? It's like stupid shit happens, even if you're not like sleeping on someone's floor drinking 30 packs. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah. I think Casey, our guitarist, one time told me he got like he would sleep for like 10 seconds at a time when he was driving or something like that. I'm like, you fucking idiot.
yeah, that's not good. Man.
Yeah,
That's,
I think he was probably joking, but I mean, that was the worst, man, being the person who had to drive overnight, like late.
yeah, that happened to me one time. It was after we played in New Orleans, and I did an all-nighter, and we got in the van, and like you said, there's a couple seconds of sleep. I pulled right over to the first exit and just it wasn't that important to get to the next show. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like nobody wanted to drive. It was like one of those nights.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
we were always pretty safe about stuff like that. We never really did really stupid shit like drove drunk and like, on drugs and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was especially because you guys have a trailer too in your van.
Yeah, definitely. And that was like extra responsibility because if you've never driven with the trailer, it's like you got to learn the ways of the trucker, man. First, you got to get a mesh hat at this Flying J.
Yeah.
That's the first rule. And like you got to get your farmer tan right, you know?
Pretty much.
It's a lot of work driving a trailer. A lot of like little extra things you got to worry about when you're like backing up and driving in the city, especially going around tight corners and stuff. So
Oh, dude, driving in the city, that was the fucking worst. I would never, I was the guy who could back the thing up and literally back it up into a space because that whole summer before we went on our last tour, I was landscaping, and the truck I was driving had a big trailer in the back for all the mowers, so I got quickly had to become, and I was the only guy who was legal to work for this company because all the other guys were like, illegal dudes.
You're driving the truck, basically.
Yeah, I think the guy hired me because I had a license. I was not good. I was a shit landscaper, and yeah, I mean, I had to learn how to quickly like stop traffic and back this thing into his driveway. So by the time the summer was over, I was a fucking pro. So when we'd go on the road, they'd be like, just throw me the keys when we'd have to park the trailer somewhere. Because there was always like that designated person who could drive the van with the trailer on it.
Yeah, it's cool. It's definitely a skill. I mean, it's not hard. It was definitely like backing it up and stuff.
Yeah. Were you dating anybody when you were on the road the whole time?
A couple times, yeah.
That was the worst.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
we can leave it at that, Mike.
I think it's the first time I've actually ever asked that when that question is like, that's a loaded question right there.
Well, I mean, I think that's an issue for a lot of guys in bands,
Yeah.
I mean, everyone in Digger had girlfriends. Maybe not all the time, but at some point, yeah.
Yeah, that was I dated someone the entire time too. And, I think they've talked about that. She was like, "You were stupid for doing that." I was like, "Yeah, I know."
So Lane Meyer, you guys played with us in Athens, right? And that was with I can't remember the band's name.
Whippersnapper.
Whippersnapper, that's right. Do you still talk to those dudes? I mean, like, they're still playing at all, or like?
I think I talked to. No, man. I think the last time I spoke to them was years ago. I think I might have connected with one of the guys on Facebook or something like. I think it was Jason. Jason's the guitar player from Whippersnapper. I connected with him, I think years ago, but yeah,
Right,
yeah.
we're all guys too. I remember. I think didn't we play 2 shows, or was it just Athens? I thought we played Atlanta too with Whippersnapper, but
I think it was just Athens because that was their hometown. And
yeah.
it's
Another sticker on my one guitar case.
Oh, really?
That's funny. I couldn't remember their name though for some reason. Yeah, but you made me like think of that show.
Yeah, because it was I think let's see. I think it was summertime. I think it was kind of warm outside. Because I remember, this is, I don't know, the most interesting story, but I literally remember we were out in the back of the club, and I was talking to Mike, and when you guys were like packing up the trailer, and it just, there's nothing crazy about that, but I can like vividly see hanging out with you guys after that show, and then you guys took off. 'Cause I think you drove overnight to some other city, and we were staying there with Whippersnapper. Thank God,
Hmm.
because I hated driving overnight. But yeah, I think I don't know if we had played. I think that was it, and that we and then there was a couple of times I think on the road where we would always meet up and split off.
Yeah, our paths would
Y-
cross.
Yeah, because you guys were touring on Monte Carlo at that point. Because I remember that CD, you guys got it with like the dice in the.
In the spine, yeah.
Yeah, whose idea was that?
That was kind of like a promotional thing I think Hopeless kind of thought up of. And we only did so many of them because to put those dice in each jewel case was like an extra, I don't know how many cents back in the day, but like back in the day, it was like you got to keep your CD under like a dollar something wholesale. I don't
Yeah.
know. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, man, because you got to pay that shit back.
Yep.
Did you guys actually ever make any? Did you guys ever see any money from the CD
Yeah,
sale?
we get paid royalties. I mean, we don't like. I don't, it's not like hundreds of dollars or nothing like that. But I mean, Hopeless still sends us our accounting and stuff like that. I mean,
Wow.
we overspent when we were on the label. Basically, if you want to like know the truth, I mean, we're still paying it off. So it's like it's not a big deal though. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, 'cause they're like printing money right now.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, you got to think if you get an advance like at a band our size for like 10 grand, and that covers your like your recording costs, your mixing, and your mastering, and you're done. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're on your own again. You know, it's just not like there was not like this huge cash flow ever. You know, with the band or anything like that.
What did you find like was a perk of being on Hopeless back then?
Well, definitely Hopeless had a name. They were building their name as we were building our band, you know, and I think we kind of helped build the label too. You remember all those like CDs they would put out for like $2,
Oh yeah.
and they would have like 30 songs on from all the Hopeless bands and stuff. The
Yep.
Hopeless Devoted to You ones, those.
Yep.
I mean, there was hundreds of thousands of those that went out, and the one guy. Can't remember. We were just talking about it the other day, but like that's how like they got in. People found us. That's how people got into bands, other bands, and stuff like that. So there was definitely perks though because Hopeless was willing to support their bands, and if we broke down on the road or Phil's guitar head broke or we needed this, like there was always budget for that, even though we had to like tooth claw and nail for it.
Hmm.
There was still budget. They would still help. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so it was more like tour support than getting some mass advance and stuff like that.
Did they ever get you on a big ass show that you remember?
Well, they did some South by South showcase, which was I thought those were pretty big shows. They were like Avenged Sevenfold, The Weaker Thins, us, Mustard Plug. So I mean, you put all those bands together, you're gonna sell out a venue. Yeah, they did. I can't remember exactly. I mean, they got us into Warped Tour a couple times in LA, which was nice.
That's cool. Like to play or just got you in
No,
because you were on
just got us in now. You
tour?
know what? Out of my whole career, I never played Warped Tour. Isn't that funny? I've been to Warped Tour a bunch, but I never played it. Not
Yeah.
even like the local stage or anything like that.
Doesn't it like, do you ever see those festivals that come around like the Riot Fest or the Fest and things like that? And you're like, man, I would love to play one of those things.
Well, we played the fest a couple years ago.
Did you really?
Like,
Son of a bitch.
yeah. Oh, it was awesome in Gainesville.
Oh
And,
yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely play it again. I think it would help though if we were doing some new material and were a little bit more relevant, like then what I mean, like so. But yeah, the fest was amazing. We played with the Ergs, and we got to see Sam I Am, and I forget who else played that year, but it was a really cool vibe. Lots of really nice people, and I had a good time.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually just interviewed Sergi from Sam I Am 2 episodes before yours. Yeah, so that one's actually gonna launch. Yeah, I was talking to him about the fest because there's this video online where this kid like stage dives past them when he was playing in Knapsack, and it just didn't make any sense. And he like turns to Blair. He's like, "That's the first time anyone has ever done that at a Knapsack show."
It's a good moment, and it's probably on. If you filmed it, right? Or it's filmed.
It's filmed, yeah. It's on YouTube. It's kind of hilarious.
That's cool. Yeah, I got to hang out and meet Sergi a bunch of times. We played with Sam I Am at the Trocadero in Philly a long time ago.
Oh, nice.
And that was definitely one of my like highlights too, because I was really, really into Sam I Am, and I went to see shows at the Trocadero for years. So like when we got that gig, I think it might have been like '96 or '97.
Okay.
I was like head over heels. I was like, this is the show, you know? I was like, this is, and it was awesome. I had a great time.
Freak Out on the 7-inch with Weston.
Mm-hmm.
Who's singing that song?
Okay, let me think about it. Sometimes I think, it's me and Matt in the beginning, and then Phil.
Dude, that is one of my favorite fucking Digger songs ever.
Thank you. Yeah, I love playing that song. It's so much fun to play. It's like a real quick one. It's got like 2 different style vibes to it, and it's over.
Yeah.
You know?
But that's what I'm talking about. Like you guys had these songs back then that there was, you know, there's like the really high pitched part you sing at the end. It's like it's really okay, Dad. It's really not so sad. Like that part where you guys go like super high.
That's Here I Go. That song, Here I Go.
Oh, is that Here I Go? No. I'll tell you your songs. We know it's Sometimes They Go Freak Out. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
actually, okay.
The one that you sing is definitely Here I Go.
The one I just sang right now?
Well, Freak Out is Sometimes a Freak Out. The other one that you sang, Sometimes That's Our Dad.
Yeah. Oh, that's the end of Here I Go. Here I Go, go, go. Yeah.
That's it. Here I Go.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Got the same record, man.
I remember getting that. I was at it might have been the show you guys played at Skaters World, but I bought that, and because Weston was coming out with their new record, Saturday night, or matinee.
Matinee, yeah.
Yeah, matinee. And then that's when their sound like just really started to change, and so I got that, and then Favorite Mistakes on the one side, and then there was another song that was like very like Weston-ish, very poppy, and then Favorite Mistake was a little darker. Then I flipped it over. I remember listening it to me and my mom used to live in this condo in Jersey, in Jefferson, and she had this record player, and so that's where I was able to listen to 7-inches, and I put that on, and I used to like crank that fucking song. And just like jump around in my living room because I love that song so much. And I talked to Boxcar. They were a Jersey band. Do you remember them?
Yeah, totally.
I asked them, they're like their episode like 10, I think, of the podcast, and I said there's this song in the beginning of their CD. They had one full length. They had a 7-inch that they put out, and they were in a couple comps, and then they were in this full length album that they put out. And the first song, I was asking about that. I said, hey, how did you guys write that song? Because it's so good. And they said, we were inspired by Digger's Freak Out.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really cool to hear that.
Yeah, they were because they were like there were so many changes, and they're like, we really wanted to push ourselves to write a song like that, and that's how we got the song. I was like, oh man, I'm like, if I ever fucking interview Chris one day, I gotta tell him. So there we are.
So man, yeah, I'm stoked that we're playing a couple shows here at the end of the year. I was supposed to move to Charlotte, like I told you in the beginning, and it didn't wind up happening, and we weren't really booking anything this year. But I'm stoked that we have some shows here at the end of the year, and 2 New Jersey shows, one with a Wilhelm Scream and the other with Weston.
Holy shit.
Yeah. The Wilhelm Scream's coming up in 2 weeks. It's at Trenton, New Jersey, a Championship Bar.
That's crazy. It's weird that it's there. I figured that your guys' turf would be Philly, and then theirs would be like Boston area.
Well, yeah, they're from Boston. Like that's this show too. What I'm totally stoked about, because we took a Wilhelm Scream on tour when they were smacking Isaiah.
Yeah.
And I forget which tour, but it was in Canada. We had them on a bunch of dates, and then I think we did a couple shows in the Boston area maybe with them. Super great guys. That's another band I'm so super pumped on, that to see my friends that are still making music and doing well with it, like nothing makes me more happy. I mean, I'm just
Yeah,
stoked
that's awesome.
friends. So it's so awesome that we get to play a show with these guys. I was really pumped when we got the gig.
What like brought all this on? Because I mean, you guys had 3 albums. No, you had 4 albums.
Yeah.
The last one you put out was no, you had 5 albums because Trainwreck.
Trainwreck's an EP that came out before Keystone.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So Keystone came out in 2002. Then you guys, because I mean, you guys were pretty much. I saw you guys play in San Diego. You guys played at the Ken Club, and that's
Yeah,
when you
remember
had,
that?
yeah, you had like the kid from who was it? He used to be in Yellow Card.
Oh yeah, Warren. Yeah, Warren was with us. He was our bass player at the, and Warren actually just played the fest with us too because our bass player couldn't make it, so he filled in for us down there. Isn't that crazy? It's
That's
like
wild.
full circle.
I thought Matt was your bass player.
Well, he was, but what happened in this like reincarnation of the band is that
It was easier for Matt to switch to guitar and have Ben just because Ben was the bassist on Keystone. So it was easier for Ben to just play like bass and Matt to play guitar and sing.
Okay.
So that's just how it worked out.
Yeah.
This happened kind of because Ben and I were in a band, and then I left the band, and our current drummer Ryan, he was really really drunk at a show, and he was like, "I'll do anything for a Digger reunion." And he was like really really serious about it. And I said, "Okay, if you play drums, I'll do it." And he's like, "I'll play drums." And 3 years later, the guy's like, "My knee hurts from playing drums, man."
You're like, that's what happens when you get close to or over 40.
Yeah, totally happens. But yeah, that's how it all started.
When you guys are playing a lot of like when these shows, are you guys playing like how far back do you go with your set list?
Power Bait and on. Like we did actually one show where we just played all of Power Bait. Like,
Oh, wow.
like it was like a Power Bait anniversary record. But yeah, I would say most of our set consists of the first 3 records. So Power Bait, Promise, and Monte Carlo. We play a couple things off of Keystone. We play Freak Out and then a couple oddballs B-sides here and there. Just depends, you switch the set list up every night. So
What would be out of the 3 albums, the first 3 albums, which one would be your favorite?
Power Bait for sure.
Yeah, why?
Oh, well, it's the first, and like the songs, I feel like the songs are the most fun on that record. So I don't know. It's just my favorite. Like looking back at all of them, they were all fun to make. Keystone definitely was like the most progressive as far as the records go because I had been in the band so long that like I kind of established my style, I guess, or sound. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit more mature. I mean, I was writing songs at like 28, 29 years old versus 21,
Yeah.
So, yeah, but they were all fun to make, but Power Bait's definitely my fave.
Yeah. Did you feel like there was like a different dynamic, like making newer songs like after like Phil wasn't around?
Yeah, the band, that dynamic definitely changed because we had so many members come in and leave, and like we had 3 different drummers, 4 different drummers. Well, I mean, you could lay out a string of guitar players across the country that we had play with us, friends, and people would do a tour and then like not do it anymore, and like it's fine. It's just the way the band worked out. That's all. It, and if you're not like, I just watched this documentary on like Leonard Skinner, and these dudes, they went to. They called it hell, but it was a little sweaty room and played all day long. And like, there's different dynamics when you do that with a band and make songs versus where you have like an original 4, then an original 3, and then an original 2, and then an original 1. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's just happens though. I mean, every like musician you play with is different, and you kind of you can grab stuff from them, work off them. That's what's great about music is that you can do that.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely changed the sound years later because the drummer will always play a little bit different, or the lead guitar player will have a different kind of style. I mean, the vocal part is what you really can't change because that's when everyone's kind of like, wait a minute, this isn't what I was sold on initially.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Like,
like maybe like with us, like not having Phil's vocal there was a little different, but I mean we worked through it, and that's how Monte Carlo came, which is probably my second favorite record. I don't know.
Yeah. So Sean, who was in Landmeyer, he told me to tell you that he loved
Yeah,
Monte
I remember
Carlo.
Sean.
Yeah, he said Monte Carlo because we went on tour and we got that record. I think we got that record from you guys after playing that show in Athens, and
Hmm.
he had that thing just on fucking repeat. He loved it.
I had so many like bands that we. It wasn't even music that I was particularly into at first, but after you go on a tour and hear Archers of Loaf all like tour long, you're like an Archers of Loaf fan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or Pavement. There was so many bands that I was not in touch with until I went on tour with somebody, and like I remember when we were doing the Keystone tours. Garrett was so into Third Eye Blind, and I hated Third Eye Blind because they were a radio band, and like that just was not like. Well, by the end of the tour, and to this day, I'm a Third Eye Blind fan. Isn't that fucked up?
Dude, I fucking love that first album. It's so great.
I like all their albums. If you take that first record and listen to it on super quality headphones, the production on that record is amazing.
Really?
Like all the little extra guitar tones that dude uses, and the like super like sweet vocal octaves. I mean, do it. Get real stoned and listen to that shit on your headphones.
I'll have to do that. That'll be one of the next used CDs I buy at my CD shop that I'm frequenting now.
You'll be on eBay later today looking for it.
Well, that was a funny thing too, because when I bought Nevermind, I'm listening to it, and a CD has better quality than an MP3. And I was playing it in my Jeep or car, whatever the fuck, I don't know what to call it, my automobile. And the sound system, like I bought it, and the sound's not that bad, so I'm listening to it. But I'm listening to just the production value of it, and it's insane for like 1992 or whatever. So I can imagine going back and listening to records that actually had a real solid budget and how they utilized it to make the records.
Yeah, now you just have to make sure that sounds good on your iPhone.
Pretty much.
And you're good.
Yeah. Like quality is kind of gets thrown out the window a little bit, That's why I think people are going to go backwards and start buying CDs again, because they need to hold something.
That could very well be.
How did you guys actually officially break up at the end?
I think I was just burnt, man. I had been on the road for 9 years, and like being the only original member left, I just like that was it.
Yeah.
And I started bands after that, but nothing. It was just like recording projects with my friends, and we played a couple shows, but it was nothing like super goal or like goal related or anything like that. It was just being in a band again, After Digger actually was done, I played in Cordova for a while with my friend Gil and Jimmy, and I just couldn't get in the vibe, man. Yeah. Like as much as I loved all of them and I liked the music, it was like I'd been burnt out to the point where I needed to just take a break from music, and that's what happened when I stopped playing for a while.
Yeah, because the Cordova was a very like kind of glam punk or rock kind of style. Like
it was a little bit more artsy.
Yeah.
But it still had like good like rock and pop essence to it, like guitar wise, and I like that. You know what I mean? And I also wanted to do something different, like. So, I had pedals. I never used pedals in Digger. I just, plug straight into that Marshall and turn it up loud,
Exactly. Clean and distortion. That's all you need.
Hey, but, that's perfect because there's a lot of bands that do that, and that's what they do. So, but yeah, it was just, I don't know. We were talking about, playing in Cordova and stuff. Yeah, it was just something different to do. For me personally, I just couldn't, like give them 100%.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, Gil was in Nooner, right?
Gil was in Nooner, yeah. Gil actually was the catalyst in getting us signed too, because he played he booked a show with us with one of Hopeless's band's Funeral Oration, and I think Falling Sickness.
Okay.
And they went back to Hopeless, and they told them that's how they got the demo tape. Maybe we gave the demo tape to them or something. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, word of mouth. That's how it worked back in the day.
Was it Gil the roadie for one of you guys initially before he did Nooner?
Gil might have helped roadie for Weston. I mean, he
that
might
was
have.
it.
Yeah, I think that was more like it. But yeah, Gil was always in bands. He was in Nooner and he was in Cordova, and I forget what other bands he was before that. But those were like the two Valley bands that he was in.
Oh my god, it's fucking insane. Yeah, I
I
just
know.
love Nooner.
Yeah, I'd push for them to do a reunion too. That would be amazing, huh?
Yeah, man. I haven't heard of this. I haven't thought of those guys in like fucking forever. So before we go, what would you like to plug? And I do think that this is going to come out after the October show, so kind of think more towards like December, January.
Yeah, I would just say maybe like hit up our Facebook or our Instagram and watch to see if we book anything else for the rest of this year. I would like to play a Lehigh Valley show at some point, so I mean, maybe you guys want to come up for North Carolina for that.
No, we're done.
Yeah, but we don't really have too much to plug. Like as far as like new music or anything like that. Like I said, this is just like we're playing old songs, and that's what we're doing.
All right, man. I'm gonna wrap this up.
All right, cool.
And
Yeah.
so I always end this with this one question: what scene ethics do you still hold on to this day?
That's scene ethics. I mean, I never got too politically involved in the scene stuff. Is that what you mean? Like, or just like, I mean, I always just tried to respect everybody, no matter what they were. They were at our show, Um, there was very few problems I ever had with people at a punk rock show. Maybe a couple push or punching fights. Nothing ever amounted to anything really bad. You know what I mean? But I just try to just be respectful to people in general.